Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Kathy Barnette show. I appreciate each and every one of you. And I'm going to jump right into my interview with very little downtime here, but allow me to once again remind you to hit the subscribe button, followed by the notification button, and then you all know to share it on your social media platforms as well as in text. Just get the word out. Help me, help all of us, and I appreciate you guys. With that, I'm going to bring in my next guest. Hello, Miss Kimberly Klacik. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I am doing well. Thank you so very much for taking time out to come in and talk with us. I appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you having me. Thank you, Kathy.
Yes. Now, for many of us, for most of us, I know, speaking for myself, you walked into my life about 4 years ago with your little red heels on and your little red dress, walking the streets of Baltimore, Maryland. And you invited each and every one of us to come along on that walk with you. And what you did was just truly epic. You showed what happens when Black people vote exclusively and consistently Democrat. You showed us that their lives end up in ruins, broken, bruised, busted, and disgusted. That was 4 years ago. And now today you're still at it. You are now the congressional candidate for Baltimore, Maryland's 2nd Congressional District. So you're in the general election right now. How's that going?
Yeah. We won the primary on May 14th, and we've been hitting the ground ever since. We're door knocking, phone banking, reaching out to supporters, donors. I mean, you name it. We were just sign waving last night on the highway. You
You
know
did
what
what last night?
sign waving on the highway. I mean, you know what it's like. I mean, you've got to
Yeah.
literally reach voters every single day. And so I'm excited to do it. I'm happy to do it. This time around, the 2nd Congressional District, just so people are aware, we had redistricting in 2022. So we are
Right.
now in a very competitive district. This is a D+7. And our seat's an open seat because Representative Dutch Ruppersberger is stepping down. So we are very competitive in this district right now. It's any man's game, I guess you could say. I'm running against the Baltimore County executive who's had a lot of scandals come out in the past, I would say 3 or 4 months. And so, we're just kind of enjoying that news cycle, but also making sure that we hit the ground and we have a grassroots efforts that hopefully no one's ever seen before.
Yeah. Now, Kim, as I know very well, scandals don't hit the same way for Democrats as it hit for people like you and I. So, are those scandals actually moving the needle and Black people voter? I mean, is this new redistricted congressional district predominantly Black or what? What's the makeup of this new district?
Right. So it's 50-50. Carroll County, Baltimore County, and then we have a little piece of Baltimore City, but Carroll County is completely Trump country. And then, of course, where I live, Middle River, Essex, Chase, all of that is Trump country as well. And so it is 50-50. And so, it's not a cakewalk for this Democrat. And there are a lot of people paying attention to the scandals because one of them is the fact that the Baltimore County executive has not been cooperating with ICE agents. So when ICE is looking for criminal illegal aliens that were already in the justice system here in Baltimore County, he's been releasing them instead of paying attention to the detainer requests from ICE agents. So just
Wow.
yesterday, yeah, we just dropped our campaign ad. We talked about this. I was walking on the southern border, just talking about the fact that the southern border is really affecting us in every single state right now.
I mean, it actually is, right? And this is an issue that Black people care about. Now, granted, I would have thought Black people would have waken up when they saw how the school systems and their children have to attend, ducking and dodging bullets. I thought that would have awakened them, the crime, the lack of job opportunities. No, but this particular issue of these illegals coming into primarily their community, taking up resources that otherwise would be going to them, that issue really, this illegal issue, how Democrats have allowed them to just flood our nation and consume all of our conversation as well as our resources, that issue seems to really be rubbing Black people the wrong way and getting them to kind of look up from the grind of working on that Democrat plantation.
Absolutely. I was just talking to a gentleman earlier today, and he was saying how he was so sick and tired of seeing illegal immigrants come first when it comes to housing, right? So these Section 8 housing vouchers, they're going to illegal immigrants before they're going for, whether it's black families, veterans, or whoever. And they're watching this happen in cities like Baltimore, right? In Chicago, and many, like you said, predominantly black cities where they're pushing a lot of these immigrants. And so, yes, now
Yeah,
they're taking a look at it. Even when it comes to the schools, I can't even imagine what school's going to look like in the fall. But when you have
oh
all
yeah,
these illegal immigrant families that we cannot sustain, and we already have overcrowded schools, and
yeah.
Democrats just don't seem to care.
And when it comes to those metrics with schools, I remember when I wrote my book, I included a lot of the metrics coming out of Baltimore that predominantly black people, and those particular schools, it was already, the results were already abysmal for the kids that were there with the resources that were already provided. So you're right, I can't even imagine now having millions more of illegal children coming in and taking up those already scarce resources.
Yeah, and they're coming in not able to speak English, many of them. So they're the schools are, believe it or not, they're catering to them. So they're going back a bit to cater to the fact that they cannot speak English, which is holding up the progress from those Americans and those that are already in those schools. So it's a mess, Kathy, is basically what it comes down to.
Yeah, yeah, our whole country is somewhat in a mess. It's just, trying to pick a problem to obsess over is like trying to drink water from a fire hydrant these days. It's just so much to be upset about.
No, you're absolutely correct. And so, yeah, that's my number one concern on my platform, closing the southern border, and then also public safety. I know you know this very well. We've got a police shortage here. Like we said, we've got now more people in our district that it's unsustainable, not just with the schools, but when it comes to our first responders. We're down firefighters, police, and EMTs. And they're talking about the fact that they're arriving to situations where they're having to deal with illegal immigrants. A lot of them can't speak English, and then on top of it they're short staffed, right? So there's
Right.
a lot going on, but you're right, there's so many different issues. I just hope that the voters really pay attention to it and think about
Yeah.
voting differently this time around. We did flip 20,000 Democrats within the Baltimore City area back in 2020. This time
Hmm.
around, we don't have to flip so many Democrats, thankfully. But those that are unaffiliated, even those moderate Republicans that might not like Trump, I hope they just consider the fact that there are many of us down ballot that really want to fight for them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, Cam, I truly hope the very best for you. I remember when I was running in my own campaign here, 20, I don't know how many times you came down for me, but it seemed like I saw you a lot at one point in
Yeah.
time. I think you may have come down here to Pennsylvania, is it down or up or over for me out of Baltimore twice, and you didn't ask for anything. You just showed up, and your platform at that particular time, because of that video with you in these little red heels and little red dress, everyone was talking about, they couldn't remember your name, but they were always say, that black girl with the red dress on.
Yeah.
And I knew exactly what they were talking about. But I saw, but I will never forget that, Kim, that you came and you gave of yourself. You didn't ask anything of me. I think the last time I offered you something, to pay for your accommodation, you was like, no, that's okay. And you left. and but that says a lot, especially in this industry where I'm sure you have gotten your full dose of, even among fellow Republicans. They're not, which I would think they would be a little bit more open to people like you and I, fresh, young, new voices, speaking our values very clearly. But that's not always the reception people like you and I get when we're running as Republicans, even among our own.
Yeah, no, and it is sad and it's unfortunate. And yes, I see it all the time. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I go into an event and people say, Kim, can you speak for us? And I'm just like, yeah, why not? I'm not doing anything that day, so I'll come up and speak. And then I find out, people that are on that same panel had requested $20,000, $30,000. And these are small Republican groups, right? Or state GOP parties or candidates that are trying to win
Yeah.
their race. And here they are charging them 20 grand, knowing they're trying to raise money to win their seat. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? They're not really about the party at that point. They're really about themselves. And so it's
I
sad to
mean,
see.
Yeah, the grift is strong, even
Yeah.
on our side of the aisle. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all about that. But let me pivot a little bit because, I mean, I wanted to talk about the political side. We've done that. I want to pivot. I want people to get to know you a little bit more. But in order to do that, I want to just talk about one other thing before we parlay into just more of the personal side of you. That video, do people still ask you about that video 4 years later?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Whenever I go anywhere, they're like, "Wait, you're not wearing red?" And I'm like, you're like,
It
"No,
was
it's
edgy, Kim. It was edgy. It was different.
yeah,
It was, I mean, it was just something, it was new energy. Right now in the Republican Party, I call it beige energy. Everything is just so bland
oh yeah,
and so monotone within the Republican Party. And then you 4 years ago came out with something that was not beige. It was fire. It was passion. People felt it. I believe that's who our grassroots really is. I do not believe that when I go into the grassroots community, it's not beige energy that I'm getting. These
right."
people, they understand the issues. They're pissed off about how far and how quickly our country has fallen, how everyone seems to be taking advantage of us, and how our own needs are being pushed to the back, for whether it's for Ukraine or for just whomever, illegals coming into our country. We seem to be the last group of people on the minds of our own legislators. And so that video, you came in and it was just a lot of good energy. It wasn't beige energy, it was fire, right? And you, again, you walked us through Baltimore, showing Black people what happens when you consistently vote Democrat. And yet today we have Kamala Harris, and we have a lot of Black folks telling us that if you don't vote Kamala Harris, then you ain't Black. What do you say about that?
It's really sad and unfortunate. I mean, first and foremost, I cannot believe they switched out their presidential nominee, disenfranchising so many of their own voters because, here in Maryland, we already had our primary. So you had Democrats that voted for Joe Biden. So they are,
Yeah.
completely disenfranchised. But even when it comes to VP Harris, I mean, I can remember just 4 months ago, they were trying to figure out how to get her off the ticket because they thought that
Yeah.
she was dragging the ticket down. So it's like, now they're all for her because it's breathing new energy, I guess, into their party, which I can
What
understand.
energy? But the energy isn't coming from her. The energy is coming from those who produce videos,
Right.
those who write out script, right? Is not real. And yet you see this manufactured swooning that's going on around Kamala. Do you think it's real with the people on the ground, though?
No, no. The media is trying to hype it up, like you just said. I mean, I saw something on the Morning Joe where they're so excited about her.
Oh, yeah.
Meanwhile, it was Mika and Joe that were absolutely just, done with her not even a year ago. But yeah, no, you're right. It's mostly in the media, and they're going to continue to push it. And then, unfortunately, some voters do listen to the media, and they do
Yeah.
as the media tells them to. But when you're talking to people that are dealing with everyday issues, they're not talking about, VP Harris and the fact that she's now trying to get all the support. They're talking about inflation. They're talking about grocery prices, gas prices. They're talking about, still having the effects from the pandemic. I myself, I got my
Yeah.
my daughter in tutoring. I've got other friends that have their kids still in tutoring because
Yeah.
we lost a lot when it came to some of the learning that they were trying to do virtually and with masks on. And so we're looking at the local issues, right? Like you said, the issues on the ground. So I think this is kind of like a sweetheart phase, right? I guess, when you first get a new relationship and it's like, oh, this is so great. But I think it's going to fizzle out, I would think, by the time the DNC convention comes around.
Yeah, I think it's going to fizzle out just because of who she is. She is a horrible candidate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no group seems to really want her. Black folks don't want her. Indians reject her. I mean,
Yeah.
Jewish people that I've spoken to don't like her at all. And so I think that swooning effect, again, I believe it's manufactured. Like I do know people who are going to buy into whatever Democrats say. My own uncle, I was texting him last night, back and forth, back and forth. It's like all about Kamala now, right? And all
Yeah.
about token first.
Yeah.
It's very weird. But I take it with everything that you said, you're not voting for Kamala. You're going to let that ship pass. You're not interested in the first Black woman. I use black in quotes, air quotes.
Yeah, no, not at all. Yes, it's air quotes because somebody was actually showing a headline for not even 4 years ago when they were talking about when she was the first Indian American,
Yeah.
and it didn't
She is
even
whatever she needs to be, right?
right.
She's whatever she needs to be.
Right.
Yeah.
When they call it people of color, right? That's the group we're in now, I guess. People of color. We're all they don't identify as, by individual color. I don't know. It's also, it's entertaining, but I think that President Trump, I think, like I said, Republicans down ballot. Here in Maryland, we've got a Senate seat that's open, and Governor Larry Hogan, whether you love him or hate him, he's doing very well. And I think he's going to flip that Senate seat. And that seat hasn't been flipped in I think about 30, 40 years. So we're gonna pick up some seats. We're gonna flip the Senate. I think we're gonna flip it by 9 seats at least. And then even in the House, we're gonna pick up a bunch of House seats in North Carolina, and of course the 2nd Congressional District of Maryland. We're gonna pick
yours being one of them. Great, yes.
Absolutely.
Has Donald Trump endorsed you?
So my name is on his desk. I found this out just yesterday. It's on his desk, and I know we were kind of waiting to get the campaign ad out. Because we wanted him to show, people something, say, hey, look, Kim's out there again. She's got a better district. It's more competitive. So now that it's out, now that he can go ahead and endorse us. But yes, we're going to get the endorsement.
Well, I am very hopeful for you. I really am. And in fact, I make a couple of phone calls when we get off of this just to make sure. But I was thinking that as you were getting ready to come on to this show, like, has she received that endorsement? You should, Kim. You've been working very hard for a very long time. You've been very consistent, even though there's been some naysayers, even on our own side of the aisle. I earnestly believe that you've earned it. Such an endorsement.
Thank you. Well, I had a really big endorsement right before the primary election on May 14th, which is Vivek Ramaswamy.
Vivek.
Yes. You know what? Real quick, I'll tell you the story. I'm just sitting here. I'm on X, formerly known as Twitter, and I'm going through, and I get this direct message, and it says Vivek. And I'm like, this can't be Vivek. I had to go in and out of my account. I had to look. I was like, no way. It's Vivek. And he said, hey, I just wanted to ask, do you think my endorsement will help you? I said, are you kidding? Of course it would help me.
He's an amazing person. I mean, he is, I'm so impressed with him. Just the authenticity. And I've seen him in all kinds of circles, spent the night at his home with his family, on the bus for hours, eating for hours. No one orders like Vivek. Let me tell you, I walk in, I'm like, I'm not even going to order. Whatever he gets, I'm going to just eat a portion of it because he just orders for everyone at the table. And it is a masterpiece, to say the least. But yeah, I mean, he was just such a breath of fresh air. And I think our party is in dire need of just fresh air and fresh perspectives, or really just the courage to say what we believe, right? Because there's a lot of our legislators who say they believe what we believe, but they never say it and they never stand strong on it. And then to have someone like Vivek 10 toes down, no matter what you say, I've thought about this. This is my position and I'm going to hold on to it.
Yeah.
You don't see that very often in the world of politics.
You don't see it. And I got to thank Vivek in person. Hopefully one day I'll meet him in person because he's the reason that we've got new leadership at the RNC. I mean, he laid the smack down.
No one called for that. No one said to themselves, why have we been losing consistently from 2017 on? Yeah. I mean, you can't lose the way we've been losing and it not be intentional. I mean, either it is extreme incompetence or it's intentional. Either way, she should have long been gone. Yeah. And it was Vivek again who said, wait a minute, what kind of leadership do we have here? You need to go. And I remember she was sitting in the front row grinning and Vivek just called her out like that in front of everyone. Epic.
Yes, but that's what needed to happen. And so he was right there, the right man at the right time, I tell you. And because of him and the new leadership, candidates like myself now running here in 2024, we feel so much better, so much more comfortable. We're talking to people at the RNC.
Yeah.
They're reaching back out, right? We're actually hearing from them.
Good.
You know?
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, because that sure didn't happen in my races.
Not at all.
Okay, so Kim, I want to pivot a bit because when I ran for office, I ran in 2020 at the congressional level, and then I ran again at 2022 for U.S. Senate here in the state of Pennsylvania. When I ran during 2020 for the congressional district, I outperformed any other Republican who had ever ran in this district, including Donald Trump. Fast forward to 2022, I'm running in a very competitive race against Dr. Oz and several others with extremely deep pockets. And we were 5 days away from doing something that I believe would have galvanized the entire nation around the Republican Party and our values, our agenda. But what was surprising was that 5 days out from the actual election, primary election, I started getting attacked, the lies, the bullying, the maligning, and it wasn't coming from people on the left necessarily. It was coming from my own party. And I found that to be so interesting, and it kind of knocked me back a little bit because I was expecting the Don Lemons to come after me. I wasn't so much expecting with the degree of viciousness of those in my own and within our own party. But yet I recognize I'm not the only one who has gone through that. I look at you from 2020 when you first walked into our lives to today. I have seen you take some pretty vicious blows. It looks a lot like bullying. It looks extremely petty, what I've seen. You expect the View to be the View and to do what they do. Not so much with some of the influencers who have come out against you. Even, Ronna McDaniel, at one point, I remember just the back and forth of you trying to get in onto the 2020 RNC convention back then. But I would think they would embrace someone new and young and vivacious and speaking our values in a fresh kind of way. What happened with all of that?
Yeah, so like you said, it was petty. There was some jealousy there. It's sad because when that video dropped, the RNC convention was literally that week, and so when everybody saw the video, they loved it. And I have to give props to Betty Johnson, the kids at Turning Point. They did a great job with that ad.
Good.
When
Yeah,
all
they
that
did.
happened, they really did. When all that happened, it caught the attention of President Trump. And this is after months of me trying to contact people at the RNC, contact people with Team Trump. I wasn't getting anywhere. But then at that point, he saw the video, and then that door completely opened. And so I think there were a lot of people that were upset that they couldn't be the gatekeepers at that point. And I just, busted through the gate myself.
Yeah. I mean, and that's a real thing within the Republican Party. People love being a gatekeeper. They love manning that gate to President Trump. And they take a lot of, and they don't really share the platform or bring in new voices.
Yeah, and this is when we were talking about some of the events that we've been to where people charge 30 grand to speak. It's really interesting because there are some people, like you said, we're running for office, and then you have the influencers or those that are kind of like just grifting off of the whole thing. And so it's interesting because they'll project that onto people like us that are running for office for free. And they'll tell people that we're the grifters. I'm like, really?
Didn't make a dime off of any of my 2 runs.
I didn't make anything. So anyway, so they're trying to project, and I think they're trying to look like they have more influence than they actually do. Because at the end of the day, social media is great. It's great to get your ad out. It's great to raise money. But social media isn't going to sway voters necessarily. So they want to assert some power. But again, the RNC convention, it was right there. And President Trump, from what I understand, he was on Air Force One with Charlie Kirk and other people. And he said, you know what? I want Kim Klacik to speak. And so apparently Ronna McDaniel and so many others were like, well, she can't speak. She can't speak. All she has is a campaign ad that people like. He said, no, we're trying to reach voters that she's talking to. I want her to speak. And
Yeah.
so they were upset about that. The RNC, remember, we had about 48 hours. The RNC had to come to West Baltimore. My speech was a pre-recorded video. And so they had to come to West Baltimore, shut down like the street. We had this one business that let us go in there and do it. They set up shop. It was a whole situation. We had 24 hours to write a speech and to get it done. And then today it's still one of my favorite speeches of the day. But at the same time, there were a lot of people that didn't like that. And so apparently, there were other people that thought that they should be speaking at the RNC. And because I was then brought into the fold, I guess they felt as though I took their spot. And that's where a lot of this started.
Yeah, it was pretty vicious. It really was. How do you stand? I mean, I know what I'm going through to continue to stand in spite of, because it's not pleasant when you see your name, when you Google your name, or when you're
Yeah.
fearful, or, I don't know if fearful is the right word, but I do pause when I give my name, knowing people may Google me and then they may read a headline that tells them who I am, which is not who I am.
Right.
How do you continue to stand even after such ruthless attacks?
Yeah, I mean, it is unfortunate. I do get questions, here and there. But you know what? I will say, believe it or not, this year has been a lot easier because of what
Good.
President Trump has gone through. So they see him sitting in court dealing with Stormy Daniels, dealing with
Yeah.
Michael Cohen, and all this other stuff. And now people are saying, look, if I'm going to judge you for anything that I possibly heard, that means I got to judge President Trump for anything that I possibly heard. And so they're like, you know what? We just want fighters at this point. We want somebody that we know that's not going to back down and that's going to fight for us. Because those that shy away when, the punches start going, those that back down and retreat, those are the people you don't want to vote for. You want to vote for the people that continue to go strong, that keep their head up and continue to fight on. And so a lot of people will come to me and say, you know what? You could have got totally knocked down and out of this, but you didn't. You kept standing your ground. And because
but how
of that,
did you? I mean, but how were you able to keep standing? I mean, like, for example, I mean, I know we have the political answer and you're running a campaign. I'm not trying to put you in any kind of situation, but for me, that was hard, right? Because I'm running. I believe this is what I was supposed to do. Jesus and I had a come to Jesus meeting the day after, maybe about a week after it all, that particular primary did not go my way. But then I pivot to the Bible. I wake up early. I get sunlight. I have a garden in the back. I work out. So there, I'm zen. I'm a stickler for peace and calm, and don't get on Twitter at a certain time of day. Get off by another certain time of day. Like, those are the things I put in place. Really trying to. I literally signed up for a class. I've started taking classes from Harvard University and neuroscience, understanding how the mind works, how the body works. This is how I was able to keep my sanity and continue to show up every single day, because those issues that brought me to fighting and running for office in the first place, they're still my issues, right? I still care deeply about my country and about my children and what's going on, about what's right, what's wrong. So that's how I've been able to keep my sanity. That's what I'm asking of you. What have you done? Because mine was for a moment, 5 days, and then it was gone, right? Yours has been kind of lingering for a while, or it did for that moment anyway. And I mean, like, how do you keep coming back?
Oh, well, it's still lingering on because I still get tagged in videos where people still bring me up and, they can't get over it. But you know what? I look at really my daughter, right? She's about to turn 8 years old. My little girl is my number one fan. And she's like, mommy, at school, I'm famous because I'm Olivia Klacik, and you're going to go to Congress and you're going to make a difference. And so for me, it was just knowing, what the real plan was, what my destiny is. And I think it's to continue to fight, right? For people, not just like my daughter, but those that have children that want to see a difference as well. Like you said in your book, the public education system in our area is ridiculous. And so I got to keep my head up, keep it going strong. But, it was tough. It was definitely tough. especially when somebody has like a larger platform than you do, so more people believe them or they're listening to them. I did get a lot of encouraging words from so many others that would just send a text or saying, you know what, we don't believe all that we're hearing. And not only that, we know this person is a bully. That's how they, get more monetization to
Yeah.
their videos, is fighting with individuals time and time again. And I'm a firm believer, Kathy, in karma. And
Karma.
so even, one of my biggest detractors, now she's fired from her job. She's being, canceled from events. So I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
Just leave it up to God.
I mean, the word of God talks about the reciprocity. What you sow, you will reap what you sow, right? The
Yeah.
seeds you plant, you will reap those. And there is something satisfying about that when you see people, who have tried to hurt you, get the better of you, you're continuing to move forward. And I think that speaks a lot about you and about your resiliency. I certainly believe we need that kind of energy in the among our leaders, among those we elect. We need people who who are tried and tested, who, because generally, our legislators on the Republican side of the aisle, they get a little punch or a little prick and they start apologizing immediately and moving away from, I think we need people in this day and age, especially on the Republican side, whose feet have been held to the fire and they're still standing strong, being purified, coming into real gold.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I mean, look, we got people on Capitol Hill. They deal with all those punches, and some of them, they still stand strong. I got to give it up to them as well. And so, yeah, that's what
Byron
we need.
Donalds, love Byron Donalds
Yeah,
for
I
that.
do. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Byron Donalds. I mean, there's a lot of them up there that I really do love. Whether it's Burgess Owens, Wesley Hunt, Corey Mills, Lauren Boebert, Marty Taylor Greene. There's a lot of them that,
Yeah.
end up facing a lot, but they continue to fight it. And so, I hope to be one of those individuals here in January 2025.
I hope so too. Corey Mills is quickly becoming one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, no, Corey's amazing. He really is. And people don't realize, his background, right? He
Yeah.
used to, he's been talking about this assassination attempt because he knows exactly what the protocols are and what they should have been doing as Secret Service. So I love that he's out there now talking about all of his knowledge and experience with protecting dignitaries, because I don't think a lot of people do that about him.
Yeah. Last question for you. I know Donald Trump. I feel that he is earnest in his attempt to reach out to the Black community. Generally, I don't, dabble in identity politics and buckets and categories and try to put people in there, but I recognize that it's there. And I recognize that there is a need, because in the world of politics, it's all about adding or subtracting. You're either multiplying or dividing. And as Republicans, we simply don't have enough votes in and of ourselves to win in a general election. And so therefore we must be about the business of adding and multiplying. And as such, I'm going to talk a little bit about identity politics, that we need to bring over other people who generally don't vote Republican, i.e. Black people. And I believe that Donald Trump's efforts are genuine efforts. I believe that, like I was saying earlier, he has a history of going to the Black community, of speaking to the predominantly Black community, and trying to bringing substantive policies that will entice us and encourage us to do better, be better, vote better. So I believe with him, it is earnest, right? I believe in Vivek, it was earnest. Do you see that with the outside of Donald Trump? Do you see a real earnest desire among Republican, not the people? I believe the grassroots people, they're like Donald Trump. They want whoever's going to speak their values best and fight for them. I believe the grassroots will lean that way. But outside of the grassroots and Donald Trump, though, the Republican Party is a system. So those Republicans within the system, do you believe that too is their earnest desire?
Unfortunately, I don't think so. And so I think that's why there's also a lot of friction between Trump supporters and anti-Trumpers. I think those with the establishment would like to leave things the way that they are. I do believe that those conservative influencers, I guess you can call them, on social media, I think a lot of them don't get it. I don't think a
I
lot
don't
of them
think they get it.
understand it. And, they just kind of talk. And, it's, but they don't understand, like you just mentioned, as far as Republicans across the country, we need more than just Republican votes.
You
We're
do.
not going to win.
I don't think they get it. I honestly
No.
don't think they get it. And I'm constantly pushing back. Like, why are you having this conversation right now? Why didn't you have this conversation last year? Why are you talking about this right now?
I saw the craziest conversations around Dr. Martin Luther King Day that
Yes.
I don't think I'd ever see in my lifetime. And it
I've
was
never even heard of it. I didn't even know it existed.
It was Republicans. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And you know what's so crazy too, Kathy? Is there are a lot of people out there, I think, that they associate themselves with Trump, and they're acting as if their voice is for Trump. And I think sometimes that gets in the way, because you hear people say, well, people are going to vote for Trump because black people are fine with the fact that he's a convicted felon. President Trump never said that. Okay.
Yeah.
He's
I
never
find that to
said
be
that.
so racist, so myopic. It just
Yes.
misses the point. Remember when gold tennis shoes came out from Donald
Yes.
Trump and everyone was like, well, black people love sneakers. Like sneakers. Like, what? What are you talking about? This is crazy.
Right. And so President Trump never said it, but these conservative influencers that don't get it, they said it. And so then people apply it to Trump because they're
Yeah.
Trump supporters. So I always say, I wonder what day, when it will be where we'll hear less from the influencers and more from the candidates and from Trump. I think those will be the days that we, the Republican Party, will really start to thrive.
Well, that's the reason why I started this podcast, is because I understand the grift that I've seen and witnessed from those who say they are conservatives, who say they are a part of MAGA, who say they want our values, and yet you see them very driven for impressions and clicks and the things that will drive up their speaking fees, right? Versus our values and things like that. I mean, when I was on the campaign trail, I didn't even bring my books. I didn't even sell my books. I wanted no reason for anyone to say she's only running to sell her books. And yet, guess what? It was Republicans who said she's only running to sell her books. I'm like, I didn't make a dime. I actually hurt myself by not bringing my books along. And so I understand that. So let me just say, I mean, again, I think it is very impressive when you and I did not know each other. We weren't, even now we don't talk on a daily basis at all. And yet during 2020, when you were at the height of your notoriety, during 2022, you came to my events without, I don't even think we had to ask you more than once. You just said yes, put it on the calendar. We built an event around it. You came. It was beneficial to me. You didn't ask for anything. You paid your own way here. I don't even think I paid for a meal. That says something about you. It also speaks to me when I see you out here being maligned as I was. I am now incredibly sensitive to that type of bullying when I see it happening to other people. And yet you're still here. You're still standing. And then lastly, when you see the Republican Party outside of Donald Trump and a handful of others who make it actually quite difficult to be a Black person in the Republican Party supporting Donald Trump. Supporting Donald Trump as a Black person speaking conservative values do not win Black conservatives any friends. You actually lose friends. You lose family members. There's no protection. You're called horrible names from the left and equally horrible names from the right. You're kind of an island unto yourself. And our side still doesn't get it. They make it incredibly difficult for us. They don't open up doors of opportunity. They don't use their large platform to help boost voices like yours or mine or others that I'm thinking of right now that will speak the message, make room for us, people who look like us, sound like us. They don't really do it. And yet, you're still here and you're still fighting as a conservative, as a Republican. I just want to give you your flowers now, Miss Kimberly Klacik.
Well, thank you so much. And people should know, Kathy, when everything was going on and I was being bullied, I guess, you reached out immediately, and I appreciate you for that. And I will always say you are the most powerful voice when it comes to why we should oppose abortion. And, the fact that people try to take you down, like you said, within our own party that absolutely also agree in the pro life stance, to me, that was disheartening. And I really questioned whether or not they were pro life at that point. So
Yeah,
thank you for all that you do too.
I know, but I think it speaks to the fact that we are running for something bigger than just ourselves and our clicks and our impression numbers. I wanted influence. I still want influence, like I'm sure you do. You need influence in order to effect change. And I wanted it so that I can affect the kind of change that would improve all of our lives. I earnestly believe, Kim, that that's why you're doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
And
Wow,
I
I
hope you get
appreciate
it.
that.
I'm going to be watching. Thank you so much for being on. I appreciate it.
No, thank you. And if anybody want to check it out, they can go to kimkforcongress.com. So you can sign up to volunteer or donate there, and also check out where I stand on the issues.
kimk.congress.com.
kimk4congress.com.
kimk4congress.com. You heard it here. Kimberly, stay right there. To everyone else, thank you so much for listening to the Kathy Barnette Show. We are blowing up all over YouTube. I am so appreciative of each and every one of you. Make sure you share this, subscribe, hit the notification buttons. You know what to do. Take out 3 seconds and do it. It helps. Blessings, and I see you on the other side.